Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so I'll call our meeting to order. And Kevin, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Mr. Avery?
Here.
Mr. Hannah?
Here.
We have all members of council present this evening. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And good evening, everyone. This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council, and this is Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. Additions to our agenda this evening.
Yes, Mayor, several. An update on the meeting with the Board of Education.
Okay, we'll put that under communication, I guess.
Under Communications, amendment on a motion from the last meeting about our incentive pay to our employees. I guess will be old business.
Old business.
Old business as well on amending the motion from February 22nd about the purchase of property.
Property purchase.
And I think for now, with my memory, that's as much as I know, and we may come back later with another.
You probably will. Okay. Any other additions this evening to the agenda? All right. Let's go into approval of the minutes from our Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022 meeting. If council is satisfied with those minutes, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mr. Bear. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Abstain.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Minutes are approved as presented. Financial report. Good news, we got our first half of real estate taxes. So if you look at your cash summary by fund, the general fund has a current balance of $220,475. Street construction fund is doing well, $54,186. Let's go down to police levy, $308,727. Water operating, $233,601. And the contingency fund, $200,000, $1,042,502 is the total. And of course, that does, we have that obvious federal grant of a negative $110,000 that we will be paying on this year at some point in time. Over to, let's do the revenue status next. The first page, we have the general fund. So we anticipated about $163,800. We've collected $87,300, so we've collected about 53% of what we anticipated. So we have a balance due about $76,500 there. Notice that again on that rollback, which is down by property tax allocation, as she has it listed. We haven't received any of that back yet. So we anticipate that we would receive close to half of that for the first half of our taxes. Total collected in the general fund, about 39%. If we go to the next page, street construction and repair, we've collected about 23% of what we anticipated for the year. Over to page 3, police levy, we're about 48%. Again, those are real estate taxes that we collected, and we did collect 53% of what we anticipated, and we have not collected anything on that rollback. Let's go to that last page under water operating. We've collected about 26% of what we anticipated, and there was a question of why it was so low in that previous report. And, two things going on. Number one, Clark County did miss a payment, so we actually received 2 payments in March, and then March's receipts were not included in that report earlier this month. So this is up to date as of the 31st of March. So we are in pretty good shape. Total, about 30%, 30% received year to date. Let's look at the appropriation status report. And for the general fund, and let's see, we're going to have to go to page 2 for that one. And we spent approximately 25% of what we have appropriated. Street fund, we spent about 24%. That was on page 3. Page 4, for the police levy, we spent about 23%. And let's go to water operating, and that was going to be on the last page. We spent about 20%. Overall, we spent about 20% of all of our funds based upon what we had anticipated in our appropriations. So being 3 months into the year, really we're in pretty good shape. And let's see, we have our bank reconciliation for the month of March. And I would entertain a motion and a second to approve that as well.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Whitaker. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, that bank reconciliation and those reports are approved as submitted. Kevin, I'll turn it over to you for the appropriation adjustment for the ARPA fund for the personal services where the bonuses for the employees will be paid out of, stipends, bonuses.
You have that in front of you. Laura sent this over. We need to make an appropriation adjustments coming from the other fund, ARPA fund / other 2152-539 in the amount of $27,253.88, which goes to the ARPA fund / personal services. And this appropriation adjustment is to cover a one-time bonus via the ARPA funds, which was approved at the February 22nd council meeting.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Babcock, seconded by Mr. Whitaker. Any discussion?
So it's moving the appropriation anyway, from this 2952 account, which is the ARPA,
Yes.
and it's moving to our regular personal services on the general fund side.
It will stay in the ARPA fund.
So there'll just be another line that shows
Exactly
up. Okay.
right. Yes.
That's all I was
Yep,
worried
good
about. 'Cause
question.
I'm sure those probably have to stay within
Right.
the
Just kind of a
expenditures. Will have to stay
lateral
within
move,
that.
yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
That motion passes. And let's move into communications. I have just a couple things. We have received, and I'll have to get with our chief on this. Kevin, did you get one of these as well and we get them every year from the Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control. Permits will expire on June 1st, and all of those in the village come due at the same time, so people renew. Typically, we don't have any objections. I think I remember one over all the years with the village that we objected to, but I just want to make this known to everybody. And of course, we'll also talk with our chief when he gets back from his training. So Did you get one of these, Kevin? as well?
If I did, I probably put it in your
Per-
box. So yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay. The other item that I wanted to talk about is we have a follow-up meeting regarding the Apple Butter Festival and the closing of the street and the Domino's Pizza business. So that is on Thursday afternoon.
The afternoon.
Yeah,
3 o'clock.
so there was questions kind of from both parties still kind of as a follow-up, so we're going to sit down and try to hash that out. The village, just kind of a reminder, the village has the ultimate say on any street closures. So whatever recommendation Kevin will be bringing to the council, it will be ultimately the council's decision on how this plays out. But we want to give everybody an opportunity to try to work to a resolution to make the business, happy and the apple butter happy. So we're going to put those efforts out there and see what happens. So, and Mr. Hannah, I'll turn it over to you.
That's a good time to piggyback off of that. We had our third regularly scheduled school meeting on the 1st.
Can you pull your mic?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We had our third regularly scheduled meeting with the school board, and we've actually included the township now. Last week here on April 1st in our chamber here, and Superintendent Napke, Treasurer Whitaker, Board Member Henry, Mayor Howard, myself, Patrolman McHenry, and Trustee McClure were here and present to talk with the school. We talked about future construction going down Enon and Xenia Road and the most likely probability of postponing that until 2024. Is that correct, Tim? We're going into 2024 rather than next year.
I think that's how it's going to end up.
Part of that is because of the rising cost on construction items such as pipe, things of that nature. It basically has doubled, and the availability. So rather than a great increase in the material itself, we've also talked about that without getting too far off the topic with our streets projects where we're going to whittle that back greatly because of the construction costs. So Enon Xenia Road, as far as our exposure with that, we're looking at postponing another year from where it was originally planned. We've also talked about speed issues and the traffic flow around the school. It's all work in progress. We do know we have issues off of that, and we're still trying to work with the police department and give people the benefit of the doubt for the period of time to make sure that we don't want to be unduly harsh, but at the same point at this time, we do have to recognize that we're 8 months close to since school started, and at this point, I think we're going to be looking at taking a more aggressive role in traffic enforcement there. So it would behoove our citizens and our friends who drive through there to pay heed to the traffic control devices to see if it is a school zone, and usually if the lights are flashing, you should follow the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit through there, whether you see somebody or not. But anyway, just a word of caution off of that side of it. The school board continues to have a lot of requests as far as getting our SRO, or school resource officers, into the school system. The funding for that and the funding for many other things through the school system right now appear to be problematic. We are working currently, even though the chief is not here right now, he's in training out of state, but we are working to provide a proposal to our school board. We've did that before at least twice to provide services to them, and it's never came to fruition. But we will try to give them another proposal to see about putting a Enon patrolman or patrol lady in the school itself. We were told that they are going to be checking with Clark County of, I'm not sure if it's the DARE, or with the school resource officers there to see what comparable service they can provide. And we did remind them that the chief has found that should there be an unfortunate situation that would require police investigation at the school, whether it's us or whether it's Clark County doing the school resource officers, the investigation will come back through the village of Enon. So for simplicity, it would appear to us that it would behoove them to have direct contact with the people that are going to be doing the investigations off of that, which would be the Enon Police Department. But we all know it's very hard right now to staff police departments. It's a problem to maintain and to keep your officers, and certainly we've been firsthand knowledge of the problems with that. So we would also have to be looking at hiring some more officers or filling some personnel slots off of that. But so we're all on board about getting an SRO in there as soon as possible and soon as fiscally possible. It's a problem to all of us, but it's a problem that we're all trying to work out. So bear with us during that period of time.
Rick, who normally funds that SRO? Is that the school district? Is that
It can be the school,
or village, or is that some kind of a
usually it's through the
shared-
school system.
shared cost?
Usually it's through the school system. I know there for a while we had Officer Ainsley, who was our school resource officer, probably 10 years ago now. We paid part of his salary, school paid part of his salary. So it kind of was a
Shared
win-win.
cost.
It could be.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that is where part of this comes down to is, do you want a full-time officer, do you want a part-time officer? If it's going to be a part-time officer, then, they'll pay for X amount of hours during the day. We'll go ahead and pick up the rest of his salary. But unfortunately, sometimes the problem with that is that oftentimes you get grants, and when those grants expire, then who's going to keep the person that you've hired in good faith on your roles? And sometimes that was an issue where there had to be some cuts in personnel off of school grants previously. So it's a catch-22 situation where it's always great to have the funding to bring somebody on, but you have to have plans on how you're going to handle that if and when that grant would end, so respectfully. But again, we're all wanting a SRO. We all need an SRO. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We did talk to them about communications issues and I won't get into this very far, but there are communications issues that first responders are experiencing once they're in the school. The radios are not wanting to transmit properly, so once you're inside and the doors are locked, there's very little ways that you can actually have communications back to a central dispatching area. So Ben's very up to date on this, but it's not a good situation, and I'm not sure if there's going to be a quick answer on that, but it's not where people aren't trying to get that. Ben, is there anything you want to mention off of that? Or?
Is that because of the construction of the school? And it's technically impossible to have communications.
Pretty close.
Well, I think it's a matter of where they've been doing the testing for the mark signal. Last I heard, they were going to do a test on the roof with an antenna.
Yes.
So we're just waiting on those results to come back, and then we'll figure out if they can put a booster in after that.
I know the chief had mentioned the county was looking at putting
One of the repeater stations.
Yeah.
It's one of the towers. I think it got turned down in a bit.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
All 6 sites got turned down.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
And the village itself, when we originally went into the mark systems, a little bit of past history off of this, we had problems down in this area with our cruisers. And what we did actually in the Chargers is we went ahead and purchased a repeater that was in the side of the door panel that would go ahead and kick the power up, which helped out, but it wasn't the panacea that everybody thought it was. So, there's been talk about putting a repeater out to see if that may boost the signal some, but right now it's Sheriff's Department, Fire, and the police departments are all looking into this because it's a problem for one and all. The apple butter, we also discussed.
Can I have a little question on that? So if the mark system doesn't work inside the building, can they, until something's figured out, they're using their cell phones? Are they having problems with cell phone
Yeah, phones
issues
aren't
in
working
there.
great there either.
They're
We
not
are able
nice.
to use the simplex channel and talk on the ground to each other, and then we can have a relay outside. So that's how we're working it right now.
Okay, at least something's making it safe for fire
Yes.
or police inside the building if something were to go down.
Yeah, there's some other issues we probably don't want to get into in an open session, but it's not a good situation. But,
Thank you.
unfortunately, our officer was placed in that situation, Miranda. So, the apple butter, as Tim mentioned, we had a conversation about that since the school. A lot of the goings on there happens on their property. So we talked about maybe expanding some more of the area there for the concessionaires on school property. They felt like, Mayor, if I'm correct off of this, they felt like they basically had about filled as much as what they could, and they needed the other space, I think, for their concerns or for their parking.
For access, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Right.
That didn't seem like that was a real good answer to some of this, and part of the situation with Domino's is they have a delivery on Saturday morning, so with a large truck. So we've got to figure out how to compromise to make all this a win-win, and hopefully the village doesn't come out of this with a black eye because of the whole situation. It's not the best. So.
And we'll make our decision, obviously, on the best, I should say, safety practice out there for the overall situation, so.
And we also, go a little further into this in a minute, we also discussed with the school that our intent to purchase 60 acres with the township and the plans for future park there. And they were very happy with that it would provide them some, for the lack of a better term, some relief on their fiscal duties and what they had promised for the community on the backs of the village and the township, for lack of a better term, I guess is, well, I guess I want to say it. So
How does it relieve them?
they don't feel like they were responsible for putting up facilities such as ball diamonds or soccer fields.
Was it ever in their strategic plan, either short-term or long-term, to build those things, and where, if they were going to do it?
It was in their original drawings for the school that went to the public. You know, everybody thought, oh, great, we can still have our Little League and soccer still taking place.
Where were they going to build them, Jerry?
They had the picture in the corner where it's basically green space, the northwest corner of the lot. Now, I don't know that all three of them would have fit
No, they
seeing
won't.
it,
Yeah.
but I think the public got, you know, a warm, fuzzy feeling
Right.
that, okay, great, everything could still be there, and that turned out not to be the case.
Right.
Apparently we were mistaken. So,
Over-optimistic.
Yeah.
yeah, so anyway, it's a situation that will probably make it better for the school system unfortunately.
We had a good meeting, good communication, and we'll be meeting again in 2 months. I don't remember the date, but we've decided every 2 months, and we can share what the different entities are doing, and I think it's very good that we're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
And at some point, probably, this might be a good time to talk about Mr. Wozak's original, we didn't talk about it last meeting, but maybe we should bring that back up to them about having some citizen participation by chance. You know, we've had 3 good meetings. They've been fruitful, but now I think, you know, maybe to find out what some other people may have concerns about that may not be getting to us might be something to think about, just as a suggestion.
absolutely.
So we got time to do that. Thank
Thank you, Mr. Hanna. Appreciate that report. And let's go into staff reports. Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council, residents. The first item there is the March Mayor's Court report in front of you. For the month of March, there was 10 traffic cases. Total funds received for the month was $2,830. Year to date, $5,058. Funds dispersed to the state was $580 for the month. Year to date, $900. And total remitted to the village, $2,226 for the month. Year to date, $4,122.
We'll need a motion and a second to accept the report for March.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Bear, and if there's no further discussion, call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Mayor's Court report for the month of March has been approved as presented. Kevin, carry on.
Also in front of you, we put together the 2022 annual water rate survey, water cost. Gives you a good kind of an idea of where all the villages and township and Clark County and where we stand, actually where we stand as Enon in these rankings here.
We're number
So,
3. We're the third
number
lowest.
3.
That's pretty good.
yes. So
I'm proud of that. We used to be number 1 for years. That's not always the best place to be, though, right?
Right.
So,
also, tonight we have an emergency resolution that needs to be adopted. It's an emergency resolution number 2022-03. It's for the Village of Enon, authorizing participation in the ODOT winter contract for road salt. It's something that we do every year, so we can get locked in and be able to purchase salt for the following year. So
and it's going to go up. We know that. We're already seeing it with the softening salt.
exactly.
I'll make a motion to dispense with the 3 reading rule for emergency resolution 2022-03.
I'll second.
Motion to suspend the 3 reading rule by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mr. Whitaker.
I'll move the resolution at this point. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Babcock,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
Yes.
And the 3 reading rule has been suspended by motion, and we'll need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any further discussion?
How much salt do we have left from this year?
I'm thinking roughly 50 ton, maybe something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
in the barn there. So
Do we know where that's about at, Kevin, now as far as the ton?
we've been getting 100 tons, and it's.
No, I mean as far as the price on.
Oh, I'd have to look and get back with you on that.
We were talking earlier, I think the highest we paid was like 122 a ton, and that was when we had a shortage. It's been probably 8-10 years back, something like that, and hopefully we don't exceed that, but I think at the time we were paying 120 or 122, it's going for 140 or something through the other entities, but they couldn't get any truck.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that, and I can email you all on that.
I
just
don't
to let
think
you
we've
know.
ever gone wrong through the state bid. It just seemed like that's always the best price that we're able to get, so.
It was going up because I think Ohio River was frozen or something, and they just couldn't get salt into.
Right.
Into it.
Transportation
They were trying to
issue.
get dump trucks in.
If I'm not mistaken, that I think our my regular job in CE at the base, we have a salt contract, and I think we go through ODOT as well. But I'll check just for giggles
Sure.
to let you know.
Any other questions? Comments?
Mr. Babcock,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
Yes.
Emergency Resolution 2022-03 passes unanimously. Kevin, any other items?
Yeah, we did receive our new mower. Had it out mowing for the
That
first
was
time.
fast.
That was real
Yeah,
fast.
it was.
How'd you make that happen?
Well, I don't know. I just,
Quick payment.
but had it out. They were mowing with it today, and it works great so far. So
Ran out of gas. They're all hovered around. I said, "What's going on?" They said, "Well,
Yeah, it uses gas.
You got to put gas in
it's
it."
a little bit bigger than the ones we've had
diesel on
before. But it likes its fuel, but I think it's going to be a good one. It's built pretty heavy.
It looks
and
very
things, so.
nice.
And also the last thing that I have is that we got our the rest of the employee manual that we got to go over. So we're doing that right now to get back with the Mike there at the insurance company, and we'll have him come in.
And
to-
we're going to wait for the chief to get back from his training.
Right.
Yeah.
To finalize that, and hopefully we'll get this whole thing wrapped up. And
And we need job descriptions yet, so we've got job descriptions. That's a draft. So work continues, though.
Yeah. So it's getting close.
Yeah.
So, I think that's all I have for now, Mayor.
Questions for our administrator? Okay, seeing none. Good report, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work. And let's go to, we have no committee reports. We'll go to old business, and Mr. Hanna, you are on here twice.
Okay. The first motion that I'll make is to amend the motion from our last meeting, or from March 22nd. There was the vote to use ARPA funds for a one-time bonus for our employees. The question came up as far as should we go ahead and continue paying employees that are no longer employed with the village, or either been terminated or have terminated their employment. We did seek legal counsel off of that, the mayor did, and it was left basically to the village's own discretion on whether to pay the people that had left or not pay the people that had left. As a sidebar off of this, my intent off of that original motion was to provide incentive and basically a method of appreciation to our employees that have been with us for a while and continue being with us. That being said, at this time, I'd like to amend my motion from the March 22nd to specifically only include current employees and specifically exclude employees that are no longer employed by the village in the receipt of these one-time bonus funding or funds.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hanna, second by Mr. Whitaker.
I can send you that, Kevin.
And any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Hanna.
Yes, and thank you.
And that motion passes unanimously. Mr. Hanna, I'll keep it with you.
Okay, it's my pleasure to amend a motion that I made on February 22nd, and to go back to that. It was when the village initially brought forth a motion or an interest to purchase property in conjunction with the township. That's for the purpose of either a sports complex, park, multi-purpose facility of 60.49 acres. That should be closing tomorrow. My original motion was to go in association with the township trustees, Mad River Township, and I'll be amending my motion from that date, from February 22nd of 2022, to amend the total purchase price from $542,131 to $541,066 even, and to amend that to I'm sorry, I misspoke there, Kevin. The total purchase price was $542,131 originally, modifying that to $541,066. So I was correct on that.
You were.
But our portion of that would be, originally I stated $271,065. Now it will be $270,533 even. So the village portion would be $275,33. The township portion would be $275,33. And again, that would be for 60.49 acres. And since we are closing tomorrow, we'll go ahead and go forward. This is the Conley property. The village and township are buying. It can actually be adjoined to Enon Park for an overall complex. Over the years, the the Enon strategic plan, one of the primary goals off of that was to provide our residents near and far with opportunities to recreate, to go out and exercise, a place to gather, and a place that the whole area could be proud in. And this is not going to happen overnight, but it is going to be something that we think you'll all be proud of. It is a significant expenditure. There will be some ARP funds that will be used in conjunction with the village. Our well fields are behind that, and we can also use some of that as wellhead protection plan. And if we would need it at some point in the future, we also have the opportunity to put another well in back there. So besides the fact that it'll be providing a service to our citizens, it will also be providing a necessary redundancy for our water department and for our water services. So it serves our village in multi-facets. So again, I move forward with the motion. I'm sorry, I got off track there.
And did we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Hannis, seconded by Mr. Whitaker. And any further discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Absolutely, yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Same.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Rick, thank you so much for all the work that you put in on this. I know you've been working directly with the realtor, and a convenient location, lives right there in the neighborhood, so it made it real easy. But I appreciate all the work you put in.
It's something we hopefully will be very proud of from now for forever, and it has been a lot of work, and we noticed about a $10,000 error this weekend, so it was good to look back over the numbers and to we're proud of that part of it. So thank you.
We have no other business on our agenda. Comments from our public? Public? Anybody? Mr. Price? Absolutely. State your name and
Chris Price. You kind of answered some of what I was going to ask about is the Enon Xenia Road. So they're not going to do anything on there until 2024. Is that what you just said?
We're doing, at least postponing it another year. If they were going to be starting in October of this year, it'll probably be October of next year. I think that was probably what we're looking for. So fall of 23.
it's going to be 23, 24. What's going to happen is they're going to try to get it in conjunction with the rest of that project and repave the whole thing, Chris.
Well, like I say, and I'd heard somebody say something. Does the county have to run a new line up through there?
Yep.
Okay, because I said something, they're going to start doing that soon, and somebody said no, they got to run a line up, another new sewer line up through there. But I just hope we can get it done. And I know it's a county road, correct?
It is.
I just hope we can get it done as soon as you can. If you drive a pickup truck,
Yeah.
you can't drive about 30 miles an hour down through there. Even my Lincoln goes da-da-da-da-da-da, and it's a good car.
It'll only be one lane for a period of time because I think they're going to have to put probably a 72-inch line down through there, so that's not going to be something
No,
that's going to be
that'll
fixed real
take.
quick.
And the stoplight there that we have now, is there any way that the streets and sidewalks can look at possibly after 9 or 10 o'clock, putting that on a flash red and yellow?
I think I can answer that. I had that discussion with the chief, and there's something that is there that they cannot change that for like the first year. It has to go through the functioning of that, because that was my recommendation. And they just switched over this past week, I think, more to the permanent post or the off of there, and probably getting away with some of that temporary stuff.
Yeah, I saw that they're not really quite done with that. It just
For our input, once again, it actually goes across the town,
That's a county right away.
Exactly. County road, township one side, village
Clark
the other
County
side.
Transportation, basically, they have control of that. But I brought that forward, and that, to me, that's something we'll probably be looking at to continually.
There's several times I'm going down through there at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Somebody will pull up there. They can turn on red. So they pull up, they turn, and as I get there, it turns red on me, and I have to sit there, and there's no one there. It's just
we talked about that, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else want to address council?
Evening.
Good evening.
I'm Russell Graham. the
Russell,
current
good to see you
commander
again.
of the Enon VFW Post 8437. Couple questions. One, we do plan on having our Memorial Day parade on May 29th, and we'll be getting the paperwork ready for the permit, and just checking to make sure we will still be good to do the assembly at the new school parking area.
Have you checked with them?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I'm going to make sure it's all right with the village first, to make sure it's all right with you to start our parade in that area and proceed downtown.
Yes.
Normally is, yeah.
I think that's pretty much standard,
Okay.
so, yes.
And second one is I'm here to once again ask for the village's donation to our 3rd of July fireworks. It's as like everything else in this world right now, our cost has gone up approximately $1,200 over the previous years. So if we can expect your normal donation, that would be great, and anything above that would be appreciated.
You've had our support for, I don't know how many years,
Several years, yes, and it's
And,
much appreciated.
and we appreciate the fireworks display. Some of us more than others. I myself really like them, so.
I'll make a motion that this year we extend it to $3,000 compared to the $2,500 that we paid over previous years, if anybody would have any objections to that.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Hanna and a second by Mr. Avery. And this would be for $3,000 for fireworks to the VFW. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hanna?
Absolutely.
There you go. We're happy to help you out.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we hope to see you all down there. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Thanks so much for what you do.
Got a ball tournament going, keep the ball going.
All right, I'm trying.
Anybody else?
Motion to adjourn.
Wow. All in favor, say aye.
Go, Jerry.
Pose same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Is that Jeremy?